Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey peeps, today we're going to take a look at the Love Letter Premium Edition from AEG. This is a super deluxe, sort of, version of Love Letter, which was originally a Japanese game from Seiji Kanai and his self-publishing company, then was picked up by AEG, blah blah blah. I've reviewed Love Letter in its different iterations at least 4 times, I think, 3 or 4 times. It was actually the very first review I ever did on the channel was the AEG version of it. Now what this is basically, as you can tell, a component upgrade, even just from the box, but the cards are bigger, there's sleeves, all these different things. But it's not just that, it's also a whole other way to play the game. Originally, Love Letter is only for 2 to 4 players. With this set, you can play with up to 8 players by using a brand new set of cards that you mix in with the original cards. So let me go ahead and give you a brief look at everything that's in the box and what the new cards do and how you play with them. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. The premium edition of Love Letter serves 2 purposes. It offers both a physically upgraded version of the original game and brand new content that allows the game to be played with up to 8 players. Let's run through the physical aspect first. First, note that this is a direct upgrade of the AEG version of Love Letter set in their Tempest universe, not the original Japanese version and not any of the themed versions. This version comes in a magnetically latched box, a far cry from the much smaller original cloth pouch seen here for reference. The components inside are also much larger than their originals, including oversized cards similar to tarot cards and large carved hearts for the affection tokens as opposed to small red cubes. We'll get back to that yellow heart later. I'll also note here, as you can see, that while the main rules on each of the base game cards have not changed, the text has been changed slightly for clarity. On top of that, high-quality card sleeves are included in the box, enough for every card including the reference cards, though annoyingly, rather than having 2 reference cards, one for each set of cards in the game, they made 1 card for each player with rules on both sides. So, if you want it sleeved, you'll have to flip the card around inside the sleeve whenever you need to look at a particular set of cards. Not a big deal. The main draw, aside from the components, is the addition of 9 brand new cards and additional copies of an old one, with almost the same numbers as the original cards. With multiple copies of some of them, it adds up to 16 additional cards. However, you will only use these cards when playing with 5 to 8 players, at which point you just mix them all together with the original deck and play as usual. There is, however, one small but important difference in the gameplay. Whenever you have to name a card, most notably with guards, you actually now must name the number, not the name of the card, because it will now affect all cards that have that number, regardless of name. Let's run through the new cards. First, there are now cards numbered 0, 2 of them to be precise. The Jester, of which there is only 1 copy in the game, is the card that uses the mysterious yellow affection token that we saw earlier. When played, choose another player and give them that token as a reminder. If that player wins, you gain an affection token as well. Because of this card, it's actually possible for a game of Love Letter to be tied, in which case the tied players have to have a runoff game, so to speak. The other 0 is the Assassin, that also only has 1 copy. If you have him in hand when you're targeted by a guard, the attacking player is instead knocked out of the round, and you simply discard the Assassin and draw a new card. There are 3 additional guard cards with different art but the exact same effect. Notice the slightly changed wording to emphasize numbers. The guards from the core set also have their wording changed, just like this. There are 2 cardinals of the number 2, and they force 2 players of your choice to change hands, and then you may look at one of their hands. There are 2 baronesses of number 3, and they let you look at 1 or 2 players' hands. There are 2 number 4 sycophants, which are basically attack redirects. Choose a player, and whatever card gets played in the game next must target that player if it targets anyone at all. There are 2 number 5 counts. If you had previously discarded the count for whatever reason in front of you, and it gets down to the showdown at the end of the round, you get to add 1 to the value of the remaining card in hand. There is 1 number 6 constable. If he's in your discard pile and you're knocked out of the round, you get an affection token. He's another card that might cause a tie. There's 1 number 7 dowager queen who acts as a reverse baron. secretly compare hands with another player, and the player with the higher number is eliminated. Much like her number 7 counterpart, the Countess, she's more dangerous than helpful. Finally, a new number, 9, is represented by the Bishop. When played, choose another player and guess a number other than 1. If you're right, you gain an affection token. And again, this is another example of how the game can lead to a tie. That player may then discard and redraw if they want to. However, despite being a 9, the Princess, who is an 8, still beats the Bishop if it comes down to a final card showdown. That's it. A brand new set of cards, only for 4 to 8 players, and a component upgrade. That is the Love Letter Premium Edition. Okay, well, there's 2 distinct things we have to split apart and break down for the Love Letter Premium Edition. First off, of course, is the premium part, which is the components. And I think those are very nice. Now, it's easy, however, to say, and understandable to say, that the whole point of Love Letter was that tiny little pouch that it originally came in, or just a tiny little box as opposed to the larger box here that's like 3 or 4 times the size. That's what the purpose of Love Letter was, to be able to carry it around, stick it in your pocket, and bring it out and play it wherever, and not have to worry about it leaving a big footprint. That it's only, 12 to 14 cards, whatever it is, and that's all that it is. And I understand that, and totally understandable. So if that's the reason that you wanted Love Letter in the first place, you're probably not going to have any room for this set. You're not really going to care about it. But what this set is, as far as the components go, is for people who love the game, play it primarily at home, and want a nicer box, bigger cards with bigger text, perhaps. Maybe that was a big concern for you, but although the text was never really a problem before. Maybe you just want the cards to look nicer. You want them to be sleeved, like the new Love Letter sleeves that look like envelopes in this one. So for all those reasons, you might want to pick it up, but it's hardly necessary. I think it looks good. The component quality is good. The box is a good quality. I like the magnetic latch. But again, it's only for people who just want to bling out a blinged out copy of Love Letter, if that's all you care about is the components. Now, the other part of this we have to break down is the new set of cards that allow that, in addition to them being brand new ways to experience the game, allow you to play the game with 5 to 8 players. And this has to be broken down a bit more than usual because let me tell you what's positive about this. The new cards, for the most part, are very interesting. There's a couple of cards I don't like the Sycophant. It's kind of weird, and I don't necessarily like the idea of prolonging the game by, in some cases, forcing ties with the cards like the Jester and the Bishop, although even those are pretty interesting. I like how it goes about and how they're used. But I really like cards like the Assassin. I like the Dowager Princess, or just the Dowager who is like a reverse Baron. So cards like that are pretty cool, and I like how they're implemented into the game, and it does change things up quite a bit. Of course, for those who hate Love Letter, it's adding more random chaos into the mix, and that's not going to make you love the game anymore. But I like the refreshing change of pace and new stuff being introduced into the game. But in order to do that, it comes at the expense of having to play with 5 to 8 players. And having now experienced that, no. I cannot recommend playing this with more than 4. I played it with 5 and with the max of 8. And it was terrible both times. A 4-player game of Love Letter, even that, actually, I prefer 3. It doesn't work very well with 2, of course, but with 4 players, I mean, it's fine. But 3, I think, is the magic number. But okay, 4, okay. When you get to 5, you're pushing it. When you get to 8, it's absurd. It's too long. Again, the purpose of Love Letter, aside from being portable as far as the components go, is also to be very fast, because it's a very simple game, no matter how many extra cards you add into the mix. It's very simple, very random, very chaotic, but you forget about those random and chaotic part because it's so fast and it plays very smoothly. But when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 people, the turns just drag on, you don't get to play for a while, and it just kills, and then you sit there and start to think like, oh, this is a pretty dumb game. Like, in other games, I'd be thinking about what's my strategy before my turn comes back around. Oh, I have so many decisions to make. Not in this game. And that's why less players is good, because you're not going to be doing much thinking anyways. Just play a card of the 2 that you have. And usually you are limited, especially in cases like the princess, you're limited to what you're going to do anyways. You really might only have one choice or no good choice, and you just have to do something. So when there's more players, those types of things are very exacerbated. Now, of course, some of the new cards are supposed to get around that. So like there's 3 different, I think 3, maybe 4 different cards that give you more affection tokens to speed up the game, because it's still 4 that you're playing to. And of course, cards like the Assassin knock people out faster, that type of thing. But still, it just drags on too much, especially if people are just guard. Because they're adding more guards into the mix too. So, and it just kills, I think, what is the purpose of the game, is to be dumb, light fun. A dumb, light fun that I really enjoy. And again, I like these new cards. I wish maybe there's something online that I haven't seen. But in the core rulebook, there's no indication that you can like mix and match cards and say like, okay, we're only playing a 4-player game, but I want to use these cards. You can't do it. You have to play, in order to use the new cards, according to the rules as written, you have to play with 5 to 8 players. And that's a shame, because I like the new cards, some of them. And I don't want to play with 5 to 8 players. So that's why the premium edition is a mixed bag. Again, if you want a blinged out copy of Love Letter, it doesn't get better than this as far as I know. Unless there's some Japanese version I don't know about that's crazy blinged out. How many times can I say bling? But if you want this for the new cards, be aware that to do that, you need to play with 5 to 8 players, which I highly do not recommend. And you're not going to be able to just use them in a 2 to 4 player game, which is pretty disappointing. But if you're okay with playing with that many players, it is refreshing to have some new cards to use, and some of them are pretty neat. So, like I said, mixed bag here. But that is the Love Letter Premium Edition from AEG. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.